Hello and welcome to the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. If you moved abroad following your significant other and are looking to create a fulfilled life on your terms there, this is the place to be. I'm your host, Camilla Quintana, and I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and to inspire you to create the kind of life abroad you truly deserve. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. Today, we have such an important topic to talk about, which is finding your purpose, which, as you know, is the fourth of my four-pillar approach to a fulfilled life abroad. And I brought a very special guest in today, Vilma Usaite. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. And, I'm so excited about this project. And I think it was, long overdue. And I really feel like women, the expats' wives really need all the support they can get. So I really wish all the best for this project. And I'm sure that you'll have a lot of following and you'll help a lot of people. So congratulations on the project.
Yeah, hopefully. And it's particularly excited because Vilma and I go way back. And we actually, apart from graduating from the same coaching academy and being in the same mastermind group, we also had a podcast that some of you might have heard, which is the Intentional Life podcast, where we talked about so many, self-development topics. So all the content is still there. You can listen to it on Spotify and iTunes and some other YouTube, some other channels. Mm-hmm. And so we're really excited to be collaborating again.
Yeah. I miss our little recording sessions. And but it was really, really a lot of fun. But the reason why I think Camilla and I, we decided to sort of branch out a little bit, because we felt like even though the content that we shared was very important to everyone, we felt like our own target audiences would benefit for probably more specified, more specific content. So that's why, even though it is a little bit of a divorce, but we're still very much together. So we're still very much, yeah. So just a little sort of, background information for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, talking about, target audiences, let's talk about what Vilma specializes on. So I'm just going to quickly introduce you for those who don't know Vilma. She's a certified life and career coach who specializes on working with fulfillment-driven individuals who seek direction and are looking to strategically switch their career. As an intuitive empath, she merges the most effective coaching strategies together with her intuitive guidance in order to support her clients on their path towards clarity and purpose. So this is exactly what we're looking for today. This is exactly what so many women I know out here are listening and needing. And let's jump right in.
Yes, that was a very good intro, by the way. I should hire you to introduce me or have you record it. Okay, let's get to it.
So we talked about this previously. The dilemma that a lot of expat wives face when they move abroad following their husbands is that the options, the professional options abroad seem to be quite limited. And there are so many reasons why this may be true for each individual. Sometimes they don't even have a work permit or not right away. At least they have to wait for it some time. Other times they can't continue pursuing the career that they had back home in their host country because skills and diplomas can't be transferred and so forth. Other times there's a language barrier. Other times they're just lacking a network and contact. Whatever the reason is, I think a lot of women ask themselves, oh gosh, what can I do around here? What can I possibly do around here that will give me a sense of meaning and purpose, right? So this can be quite overwhelming. And under these circumstances, where would you suggest them to start to kind of get some clarity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. And I feel like it could be seen as a very sort of challenging and really stressful situation to be at, especially if in their home country, they already had an established career and something going for them, right? And now having had to make that decision to move abroad. First of all, I want to offer a lot of compassion and a lot of, understanding and saying, I feel you. Like it must be really, really tough to have left everything behind and move abroad and not have that network and support physically, right? Well, even in COVID times, right? You probably don't have it anyway, but in general, just have a completely new environment and trying to like make it there and find that meaning and purpose. So the first reframe that I think I like to offer, and I think Camilla, you probably talk about that as well, is look at this situation as a gift and ask yourself whether the life you left behind was really your dream life. Did you really have fulfillment and purpose even in your previous career? Because, it's so easy to get stuck into this, routine and the circle and kind of just continue doing things without stopping and asking ourselves, is this really for me? My feeling that is that if you didn't have a chance to ask yourself these questions back home, now you have such an opportunity to like sit down and audit everything about what you left behind. And first of all, pick and choose the things that you loved about your last life, last previous life back home, and think how you can move that towards your current situation, right? Was it the social clubs that you really liked? Was it maybe you were in a career where you were working with people? For instance, maybe you were an insurance agent, you loved working with people, but you didn't like the product that you were selling. So that means that you love working with people, so you need to identify that, but you need to look in another industry, right? So really sit down and get excited that you have a chance to like rewrite the script.
I love that. Just identifying what you liked about your previous job or your previous life, writing that down and letting that guide you. Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So, starting with that first step, but first of all, like get excited. It's so easy to think like, oh, nothing, nothing that I knew, nothing is familiar anymore. And that could cause us a lot of anxiety, but you can really choose to be like, hold on, like I could actually create a life which was so much more in alignment right now. And yes, I may need to network. Yes, I may need to put in some effort into it. But assuming if you're not working, you will have that time, right, to dedicate to actually creating the new path for yourself. So step number one, I would definitely say identify what worked and try to incorporate that into your new life. Another thing is that my suspicion and what I've seen with working with clients is that you probably already have a very good idea which direction you've been steered in the past towards. Like you already be like, oh, I kind of always liked painting, right? I know a friend of mine who was a policeman, and then she just decided to, just quit everything and start painting mermaids, and she has a successful business now. She does color books, and she is enjoying her life. She can't believe it's her life because she didn't know that she has permission to work on something that she's passionate about. And I think that's another important puzzle piece, is give yourself permission to actually, recognize what it is that you've always been excited about. And then like find tools and support, whether it's a coach, whether, there's so much information out there. We always say in yours and our podcast, would always say, listen, you don't even need to hire anyone. You can just go out there and Google your way in there and, find online courses. There's so much support for you out there, and figure out the way how to create that new path for yourself. Another big thing that I'm a fan of, if you have time, is also do what I call the self-auditing process. And that's something that I thoroughly do with my clients, is part of my program, which is identify the key components of what and who you are about. Again, we a lot of times forget to check in with, and map out who we are right now, because we might have known ourselves before we became mothers, and then we might feel like we completely lost ourselves. A lot of people that come to me as well, and probably to you, are in some sort of identity hyphen existential crisis, where like, I don't even know who I am anymore, right? So this is where like finding that time and sitting down and being like, okay, who am I right now, right? So what are my key unique strengths? What am I good at, and what do I enjoy doing? What are my core values? Values is huge. If you only choose a career where you only exercise your strengths, you will never be fulfilled. You'll keep on thinking that something is missing because it will not be in alignment with your values. And once you have that, then bring in that puzzle piece that we spoke about, which is, what do I love? What makes me excited? What did I used to do before I became a wife and a mom, and before I lost myself in the career? Put all of that together and you'll have a very, very good idea where you need to go towards too.
Mhm. I love that. Those are some great tips. And I know, Vilma, you have a very, extensive and profound program to
Well,
help.
I don't know about profound, but thank you.
I'm sure of it, where you help your clients figure out what their purpose could be, what their new career choices could look like. So what would you say, or maybe that's what you already just mentioned, what are the most important steps, just to sum it up again, towards finding your purpose?
Yeah. So I think these are the steps that I mentioned, which is like bring forth what you loved about your previous life, see how you can multiply it now, do the self-audit work with the strengths, values, and interests. And then I feel like once you have all of that together, you really then need to put on your hat of being someone who is sort of very strategic and business minded, and then be like, okay, so how am I going to turn this into an actionable career or a business that could actually also support me financially, right? So
Mhm.
I feel like, we really can't forget that part of our life, because I feel like a lot of the times people get very romantic about finding purpose and be like, it's amazing, I'm going to be so happy, but you will still have to eat and buy clothes and probably buy nice things for yourself, right? And maybe, treat your family. So you also have to be very sort of, pragmatic about it, right? So I think that point is when you have all of these ideas and you have several sort of paths or suspicions that, like, I think I should do this, right? That's when you sort of sit down, and maybe that's where you will need some help. See, recently I had a session with actually a colleague of mine. She's a coach, and she basically was branched out so much. She has so many passions where she was like, I don't even know where to start, right? And that's where we like sit down and we kind of just what do you call it, like map out with very like clear strategic steps how to actually proceed and how to build sort of her new niche for her. Specifically she wanted to build a new niche, and really it is all about constraint. And I think like that's where a lot of maybe passionate people struggle with, right? We all have so many interests, right? And maybe that's where people will get stuck in that analysis paralysis phase, where like, but what do I, what if I can't choose? Like, I like this, but what if it's not the right choice? First of all, if you choose to focus on one area, it doesn't mean that you have to put all your other interests into the, bonfire and forget about them. They don't disappear. What you're saying is that you're choosing to focus on one of them right now, and that's okay. So
Yeah.
it's about constraint,
And the
right?
other things that you're passionate about, I mean, they can still influence you personally, which is really important, because you are the future employee, you are your business, you
Yes.
are such an important part of it. So that will kind of sicker through, or it can still enrich you and inspire you in the next steps to take. So you don't ever have to think that you have to sacrifice completely your other passions. Some things you can do on the side as well, maybe something
Yeah.
artistic, or that's a great outlet and combination to a traditional office job, for instance, if that's what you're
Yeah.
looking for. So it's not an either or. I think people get stuck so
Yes.
much because they think so rigidly about, I can only do this, or it's either this or that. So
Yeah.
yeah, just
It's
really thinking outside the box.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like people do think it's an either or kind of situation, and there are only one set of right decisions that they need to make. And if they fail, they're going to burn in hell, right? No, you try something, you see whether it sticks and whether it works. And most importantly, how does it make you feel? So when you're out in the field and you have those steps, please, please, please don't forget to tune in and be like, oh, okay, so I'm really passionate about I don't know, editorial work. And I got an internship in this amazing, fashion magazine, right? And then I go in their office and then I feel like I'm supposed to feel good, but like something doesn't like, doesn't relate. Like, I'm not sure, you right? And because you thought that that was something that you always wanted, people then are keen to kind of stick to it because they're almost afraid to disappoint themselves, other people, right? That they communicated this idea to. But be bold, be brave, and be like, if it doesn't feel like this is the right thing, it means it's okay for me to keep on looking and reinventing. And maybe like you do like the magazine, but maybe it's another area you need to be working in, right? So that's also as well important, just having that confidence in yourself that you are allowed to try and try and try until you find. And even when you find, you're allowed to change your mind the next year,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And what I often say is that I think being abroad actually makes this process easier, because back home
Yes.
we're so embedded in who we are, who people think we are back then, because they've been knowing us
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, and they probably put some labels on us, and so we have this very well formed identity back home. And there
Yeah.
are also sometimes situations where you're like, oh, I couldn't do that because my friends,
Yeah.
they would not approve, my family would not approve. Now that you're
Mm-hmm.
miles away, again, it's such a great opportunity. Like, let's look at this as an opportunity to
Yeah.
say, I can now, start from scratch. I'm a
Yeah.
blank slate. I can just look for something that really will bring me fulfillment, and that's
Right.
really aligned with, as you said, my values, my strengths, my preferences.
Mm.
So it is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's not even, it's like fantastic. Like I'm actually jealous of, like I think it's such a great chance for you guys to really like rewrite the story of your life the way you want it, right? Not something that you perhaps fell into in your home country. And like Camilla said, I totally agree. You have no one really close to you judging or giving their unsolicited opinions about your choices, right? One thing that I get my clients to do, especially pre-COVID, is that I would ask them to go to like networking events of the new area that they're choosing, new field. For instance, I don't know, maybe you want to go into interior design, right? And you were doing something else. And then I would get them to go to, say, interior design, like association, networking events, maybe like some exhibitions. And when they meet people, I would ask them to introduce themselves with their new position and new title. I would ask them to try out a new identity and see how it feels, practice their new identity, because we also are very keen and we're so used to identifying with the roles that we play in our lives. And I think, Camilla, you talk about that as well, right? A mom, a teacher, or whatever. And when you're switching into a different, especially if it's also a different industry, it will be very, very hard. You'll have such an inner conflict where I'll be like, but am I allowed to introduce myself already as like a junior interior designer? Yes, there are no rules. You could meet someone and say, I'm someone who just got into interior design. What are you doing? Right. And
Mm.
practice it and allow your ego to catch on it and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I could do that. Right.
Yeah, seeing yourself already in that new identity so that you
Mm-hmm.
can get an experience from the inside of
Yeah.
what that will be like. And
Yeah.
thinking about, what do even watch, for instance, let's stick with the example of the interior
Yeah.
designers, watch others. What do they do? What
Yes.
magazines do they read? What
Yes.
topics do they research and like and talk about? Really just putting that hat on,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be. I was thinking about this movie, Catch Me If You Can, I think.
Yes, one of my favorite ones. Oh my God.
So I was just thinking of that. It doesn't have to be all the way, but just you're
Yeah.
just trying it out. It doesn't matter. Like as Wilma said, there are no rules, right?
Yeah. And
Okay,
it's
so
so much fun.
yeah. So now we talked a little bit about people that have an idea, that get excited, that have several passions and so forth. What would you say if someone came that says, actually, I don't have any real strong interests?
hmm
That sometimes?
Totally. Yeah, I do. And that's when sort of I feel like then we need to go a little bit deeper and dig deeper because, as you know, probably what has happened is some time ago, probably in a childhood, there was a phrase or an experience that they had where whatever it happened, maybe the father made a comment about their, drawing skills. And in that moment, that person decided that I'm not talented, right? And so that is sort of a stamp on their own identity. And whenever there's something new or they have an opportunity to launch out, they go back to the same belief system, the program that they have. But I'm not talented. I'm probably boring, right? So the first work that we need to do, and that's why sometimes this journey, even though people come to me for career change, I always say like career change is almost an excuse. What we really are doing is we're really rewiring and reprogramming all of those harmful, not serving, limiting beliefs that people carry with themselves that actually has been stopping them up until now to make any changes in their career, right? So, because if they didn't have the beliefs, they would have made the changes on their own, right? They wouldn't have needed the support. But what we need to do is go back and be like, actually, if you really remember yourself at the early childhood, I would doubt you were a child who had no interest and was sitting in the corner just like looking at one spot. Like
Yeah, I
that's not what
definitely.
right? That's not what children do. When we are still like free and wild and curious, we are interested in so many things. So we need to find that link to that version of yourself. Like, where did you lose it? How can we find that connection to that part of you that is interested and curious, and it's still inside of you waiting for you to give the permission for it to kind of come out and play. That's why I love the word play and fun, and I feel like that's what gets people in a sort of closer proximity to that version of themselves that they once were, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I was
Yeah.
just thinking, I guess these people also, they might overthink and overanalyze
Oh,
what they're
totally.
capable of, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, just really putting some fun in this and loosening up and thinking, okay, if I had nothing to lose, if anything were
Mm.
possible, if money didn't matter, if time didn't matter, if nothing mattered at all, what would I love to be doing? Just start with like
Yeah.
the most unrealistic thing, if you like, and
Yeah.
then go from there, take it from there, like be playful. And
Mm.
I
Totally.
always say, if you are having a hard time being playful and loosening up a little bit, then get the help of a child, which is such a
Yeah.
great guide for doing this, and do the
Yeah.
exercise with him, because children have great ideas of what they'd like to become, king and, football
I love,
star.
right? And they're so bold about it. And I love that. Like, yeah, like there are no limits for them. And we really need to sort of take the page out of that playbook and remember that it's actually available for us. But just because our society told us we need to shrink and be smaller and dream less, we just bought the story and we don't
Yeah.
have to. Like, we actually have a choice what we want to believe.
Yeah. And I also just really quick want to add here that I think it also, probably depending a bit on the culture that you grew up in, on the country you grew up in,
Mm,
sometimes we tend to think that we need to aspire to a traditional career because we studied this and that. Now we
yes.
need to work in this and that field, and it has to be this
Hmm.
way, and it has to be, you have this very fixed idea. But nowadays, I mean, there are so many unlimited options. There are so many options even online.
Hmm.
There are just so many different business types and possibilities. So maybe it's also time to just get out there and figure out what else is there besides the really traditional career path. What
Yeah.
else are people doing? And get in touch with people, talk to digital
Yes.
nomads that are doing this, on the go. Basically, they have so many different businesses that they take from one place to another. It doesn't even matter where they are. So really just get inspired maybe first and see what's out there, because there is a lot.
Yeah, and some of, like you say, some of their, the job titles, positions didn't even exist some years ago, right? The podcast host, what is this?
Yeah.
Right? Like 5, 10 years ago, they're like, what is this? So, right. And now it's a really fun, nice thing that people do and they're proud of. And it's a way to create value and give back to the community and probably even earn money for some people, right? So, yeah, totally. Like you can literally make a career out of anything. I don't know if you saw on Netflix, there's this document, well, kind of TV show, The Home Edit. Did you see
Oh yeah,
it?
I did. Well, I watched the first episode.
Yeah, and there are two ladies. I think they have an Insta account as well, and they made a career out of being super OCD.
Yeah,
Right. They made a
lucky.
career, right, out of being super OCD and wanting everything really organized. And I'm like, amazing. They really are such a beautiful brand. They're lively. They love their job. They do long hours, but they're still like energized. And they wake up the next morning and like, I want to do it again. this is what you need to look for. Like,
Yeah.
I can't wait. I want to do it again. I'm excited. I want to read all about it. I want to learn all about it. This is like, yes, right? Look
Exactly.
for energy.
I'm thinking, as you said before, look at what your strengths are, right? You said that in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Maybe you should also look at what your quote unquote weaknesses are in the eyes of others. For instance, being really OCD, being
Yeah.
really, a know-it-all, or something that could be
Yeah.
labeled as bad. Maybe this is actually what will make you so good and really stand out in your new career or in your new business.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
include that in the list. Like, what is really
Mm-hmm.
what calls the attention about you, about who you are? And if you have problems doing this, ask other people, right? Like, what really
Yeah.
stands out about me? How would you describe me?
Totally. I think asking other people about what your key strengths are, or maybe like you say, what the annoying parts are, I think it's the best exercise. It may be a little bit like awkward to do that because sometimes people don't necessarily want to hear about themselves, especially if it's unpleasant, right? But really be just go all in. Just like really be determined to just find out everything you can about yourself. For instance, I have a client who loves organizing things, and she was made fun of her by her friends because she would always be the one who would want to plan all the trips, all the celebrations, like to the details, send the itineraries. And people, her friends were like, "What's wrong with you? Like, what? Just relax." And then she goes like, "I love it so much." And actually, she wants to move into event planning and event management. And this is where that skill could shine. And the
Yeah,
clients love her, right? But
exactly.
she was told that she's like, OCD, annoying little, keep on asking, what do you think about this, hotel, sending text to everyone. She goes like, but I loved it so much. And because I received that feedback, I almost like shut it off and it'd be like, no, that's people will think I'm annoying,
Yeah,
right?
this is so interesting. This is really something to reflect on.
Yeah,
And now,
totally.
one more question I wanted to ask you is, what do you think can stand in the way of finding your purpose? What are some pitfalls maybe? What are things that you should avoid when looking for your purpose and being on this journey?
Um, so I think even the listeners and you, Camilla, know the answer, and it's you yourself.
Mm,
There's only one person. Once you really take responsibility for your life, you learn that it really is all about you, whether how you create or do things or how you choose to react to things that happen to you, right? So we always have a choice. So the only person who's standing in your way in making that change and implementing it is you. So the way it usually goes, and let me just walk you through it because I think it's really interesting the way it unfolds. Any sort of transition or change, it goes in cycles. And the only reason why I think a lot of people are not successful in finishing through and really implementing their transition or change is because when they hit that after the high is over, because it will be over, let me be realistic here. Once what we're saying, get excited, play all out, get all the ideas, get the feedback, test it out, you'll be high. However, after you find this path, then when you start really taking the steps, you will hit that plateau, or even maybe you'll think like you'll start questioning everything. Am I insane? No one else in my environment is doing this. Is it even a viable option? Should I just go back to what's familiar? Your brain will do everything in its power to convince you that it's absolutely not for you. So, the best thing you can do for yourself, the gift you can give yourself, is already expect that it's going to happen. Expect that you will have highs like you've never had it before, right? To Camilla, you and I, we get so excited about coaching. And, everyone in our environment, probably, I don't know about you, in my environment, like, please just do not talk about coaching anymore. Like this, I'm like, I'm so sick of you being so excited about it, right? However, there'll be times where there are challenges, right? And you will inevitably meet those challenges. So, how are you ready to prepare for them? And again, I'm like a broken record to my clients. Is your thought work, is your inner work, is for you saying, okay, so this is the phase that I knew is going to come where I'm questioning everything. Now, what am I going to do and react to it? Am I going to succumb to it? Or am I going to question every single thought that my brain is giving me and realize that it's just the brain doing its job and be like, thank you, brain. I know you want me safe. I know this is scary for you. However, my end goal, when I zoom out, I know where I'm going and I'm going to get there no matter what. So all you need to do is just keep on walking and taking those small, consistent steps. I know it's boring, But listen, if you want to get there, you will be ready to pay that little price and meet that doubt with, saying like, hi, thank you. I was expecting you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think that's so important what you just said about zooming out sometimes. When you
Yes.
are in a place of, I feel stuck, I feel overwhelmed, I don't know what to do next, zoom
Yeah.
out and think about, first of all, where do I want to be in a couple of years? And what can I do today that I will be thankful for in 3 years' time or in 10 years' time?
Yeah.
So getting
Yeah.
sometimes like the bird's view of everything, I think that can really help with overwhelm. And
Yes.
talking about this, I just want to make a quick mention of, we talked about now the importance of doing inner work. We're talking about overwhelm, and this is all what we talked about on the Intentional Life podcast. So please refer back to the episodes. There's one on overwhelm. There is another one on finding your purpose.
Yes.
There is a lot of content about doing inner work. So feel free to go back and listen to these episodes as well.
That's a nice plug-in.
Yeah.
But you know what? Can I tell you something else? I think that's really important. I really
Yeah.
want to share with your listeners, which is in those harder moments when you already feel like you find something, but you're struggling with those questions and doubts and, the feedback that you'll be receiving from your closest people where they will be questioning everything. So we have to make sure that you're strong and have that, inner resolution to continue. Another thing that may sort of trouble you is that you will be looking for very clear steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 how to get to a place. However, no one is ever going to give you those clear steps for you. And this is where people are start looking at how to change a career in 5 days and these 3 steps. Okay. Yes, to some extent it could help you, but it's not going to happen. So again, just knowing why you're doing it, like you say, remembering what's your end goal here and being okay and accepting the uncertainty that you will have to deal with. And maybe you will show up to your desk without knowing what to do, but you will just have that conviction that I'm going to get there no matter what. And then the how will start coming to you. So don't expect for the strategy just to arrive at your pace. And maybe with coaches as well, sometimes the first thing we need to clarify with them is, listen, yes, we can help you and support you. And yes, there are certain guidance and steps you can broadly take. However, at the end of the day, it's about you and your journey and how it will show up for you. And even I cannot tell you what the how will be for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great. That has been such a great value-packed interview. I'm so happy to be able to share this.
Yeah.
And Vilma, tell us, where can people find out more about you and your services? Where can they follow you?
Yeah. So I'm not much on Facebook. I am much on Instagram. So it's at vilma.usaite. At vilma.usaite. And I think you'll add the handles below, right? Because my surname sometimes is a struggle for people. And it's the same on my website, vilmausaite.com. This is where I kind of outline the services that I offer. I don't know. Overall, what I want to say is that I feel like we all are here on this planet for a reason. And the way we are and our values and strengths and interests are not accidental and they're not random. And it is our responsibility to really understand what we're about and ask ourselves, how can we employ our skills to be able to support others, serve maybe others. I think like there are so many beautiful like people around us who are here to serve, and it could be even in the form of opening a bakery and like sharing fresh beautiful bread for people, or creating music, right? It does not necessarily have to be in the form of being a teacher or a lecturer, right? You could serve in so many beautiful ways. And I feel like when really we give back and we serve, that I feel like is the ultimate purpose. And that's when we feel fulfillment.
I love that. And I think if you are not taking anything away from this episode, but this last phrase, please rewind, that your interests, your strength, they're not accidental. You are here for a reason and you have to share your gifts with the world. That is what it all comes down to. And that's really motivation enough, I think, to really do this work and dig in and find out what that can be.
Yes.
So
Great.
I loved it. Thank you so much for coming on here, Vilma.
I loved it too. I'm so excited. I could talk about this forever.
I know.
And we have like a 15-hour episode.
It's been great. Thank you so much again. And ladies, I will be back with you next week with another great episode. So stay tuned and I see you soon.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to share this episode with your expat besties and show me some love in the reviews. Want more juicy content designed for expat wives? Then head over to my website, www.camillaqintana.com, or follow me on Instagram and Facebook at coach.camillaquintana.